Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Honorable Marvin Coop Show with my man, Ceddy P. First time on the show. How you doing, my brother?
All right, man. Good, good.
Doing good?
Yes, sir.
How you feeling with the elimination, man? What's going through your head right now?
The Cavs.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, I spoke on it. I spoke on it to a few people.
yeah,
Uh, since I live on both sides as the Cavs fan and also as a sports bettor.
right.
You know what I'm saying? I had to be realistic about what I saw. And with the Cavs, I mean, I've been saying all season, I really think this is just a good regular season team, whatever that means. You know what I mean? But I really just was like, man, I think this just a good regular season team because, when we talk about leadership, I don't really see leadership on the Cavs. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We have a definitive best player,
Hmm.
but I don't know if that always translates to a definitive leader.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Just because you got somebody who can put up 50 points or 40 points, I don't think that always translates to, you know, having that ability to get everybody involved and make everybody better.
exactly.
And I just think we really never had a 6 foot guard who did that, unless we talk about like Isaiah Thomas, the original Isaiah Thomas.
Facts.
You know what I mean? We really haven't seen a 6 foot guard, make a team better to the point of a championship. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah, I've been saying that too. No, there's no leadership, lack of leadership. But what about coaching? How do you feel like about the coaching staff?
Um, well, I'll tell you this. Um,
It's crazy, I know, bro.
we coached better than Steve Kerr did without Curry. I can say that. I mean, if
Man,
we're talking about getting exposed, uh, that's that's a different conversation. But as far as the Cavs, um, we had late trades. We had
yeah,
we had late trades. Um, you could kind of see in the playoffs, we really didn't know how to. I think you had a couple games where DeAndre Hunter started, maybe a couple games within the playoffs,
right.
maybe one or two, and then it was kind of like um, then a few games where you got Ty Jerome playing big minutes. It just the coaching was good, but I think when he got to the point of all right, who do we go to? There was no one there. You know what I'm saying? It was who do we go to? And it was like if it's not going to be this one person or this other person, you know, the injuries. A lot of people are using that. Cavs fans are kind of using the injuries to kind of take the sting off of it. But at the end of the day, I mean, we were all there. They was all there when it mattered. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? So whether they played at 100% or not, that can be up for debate. So the coaching, I say the coaching was decent, but the playoffs is different.
Yeah, that's true. It's a different
Mm-hmm.
animal. Way different animal. So what do you feel like is next for the Cavs? What you think they should do?
Brian come home. Brian come home for just for leadership purposes and championship pedigree.
Yeah.
Just for that. I just think I don't. You know, we don't. I don't think Brian needs to assert himself as the best player on the team if he comes back to the Cavs. I think the move that the Lakers made was obviously for the future. Obviously,
Right.
you know what I mean. So I don't think it's a big deal in. Bron's not getting more than I don't. I think at this point in Bron's career, I think he's probably going to be in year by year contracts until he's out the door.
Yeah.
I don't
Most
see him getting
definitely.
another 3 year deal, or anything like maybe a 2 year. I don't know, but if he gets a 2 year deal, it's like okay, you're definitely retiring after that.
Exactly.
Like
I
you're
definitely
definitely
agree.
done. Like
I
for
agree.
sure. So I think that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Because it won't be known for Bronny to come with him. I'm sure he can make that shake. I'm sure he can make that happen. But
Would y'all want
that's,
Bronny on the Cavs?
I mean, it's gonna be a package deal, obviously.
Yeah, that's true. That's crazy, but it's true.
It's gonna be
That's
a
true.
package deal. I mean, one is gonna have to come with the other. As far as potential trades, I don't know. I don't know how they should move in that department because I don't know how much you should or should not do as far as are y'all looking at reconstructing? Are you because I think with as many games as they won in the regular season, um, they did a good job in the first round, but you did a good job in the first round against a team who, I mean, that was bad coaching. That was also really bad coaching.
Yeah.
The Heat was terrible coaching. There were like two games where Wiggins didn't even play the whole fourth quarter. You trade a guy for your franchise guy, and he doesn't even play in the important game. So that was terrible coaching too. So, but I still give Cavs credit. That is a Heat team that knows how to get to the finals. Some of them, some still good pieces there who
Hmm.
know how to get to the finals and things like that, and know how to get go further in the playoffs. And so I do give the Cavs credit for that, but I just felt like with how hard because people look at the Pacers loss uh, in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and people don't really know unless you were watching those games. You don't know like there was a game decided by 4 points, one that went to overtime. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
those dudes was really fighting with the
Yeah.
Celtics, and I was just like, man, the way the chip on Halliburton's shoulder and the way they're playing together and the weapons they have. They also have two 7-footers, not 7-footers, but they can match up with us.
Yeah.
With Siakam and Miles Turner, athletic dudes, shot blockers, both of them stretching the floor. Jared Allen can't stretch the floor, and so it was time where his. So I just think that they matched up really well, and they moved at just as fast as pace, or if not faster.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, with the Cows moving forward, I don't know. I mean, I guess they need another piece. I don't know
The
what that
leadership,
is.
like some
Yeah,
clear
yeah, but we,
leadership.
we need somebody there. But of course, other than LeBron, I mean, it's not a market that's
That's out there.
it's not we're not gonna pull the different names you can think of over here. We could probably pull somebody who is basically done with their career, like a Paul George, maybe, but I don't even think he wants to come to live in Cleveland. You know what I mean? So,
Dang.
yeah, but moving forward with Cleveland is tough. It's tough to say.
I feel you, bro. So would you make a trade or move for Giannis?
The Cleveland, I don't
Yeah.
think you could get. I don't think you could get Giannis in Cleveland.
You don't think so?
It's. I don't think you can get Giannis in Cleveland. He'd be by himself if you could.
It's going. Some teams gonna offer up. Some teams gonna clear out their team for him.
yeah. As far as Giannis goes, and I know we was gonna segue there anyways. As far as Giannis goes, I haven't heard anyone say this, but I don't know why I haven't heard anyone talk about the Hawks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. I like Giannis on the Hawks.
For real?
I like it. Yeah, and I think it's just hard to put together a package from the Hawks.
That's
But
true.
but
That's
but
true.
if people want to trust in Jalen Johnson coming off that injury, they can put something together. Because
I agree.
Jalen
Yeah.
Johnson's a dog.
He
You know what I'm
is. He
saying?
is. He
If
is.
they if they're trusting in what he can be coming off that injury, they could put together a package for Giannis. And keep somebody and keep like keep a Dyson Daniels in the Niang and kind of build around that.
Right. I agree with you. I agree with you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I just feel like some teams gonna definitely give up some picks. Maybe a few of they starting five for Giannis. I thought that maybe Cleveland could probably put something together for him. Cleveland, the Heat. There's even been some talks he might come to New York too. So I don't know. Or you think he gonna wait till his last year and decide to go somewhere?
No, I think he's out. I think he's out now. I'm trying to hear like what's the most common thing I've heard for Giannis.
Yeah,
It was like
it's
one real common one I was hearing. And I couldn't remember. I can't remember what it was, but I know it was like a real comment. Like, yeah, like this is the best place for Giannis to go. So I don't think it will be a team who made it to the playoffs this year that gets Giannis. I don't.
I definitely don't think so either. I think he wants to contend and definitely not be a part of no rebuild or nothing like that. I definitely feel like he could
Yeah.
go somewhere, make a team, like
And
especially.
unless they have like pieces that are like, because the Hawks didn't make the playoffs, did they?
No,
No, the Hawks didn't make the playoffs. They lost the play in. Yeah, yeah. Also, I did hear people talking about the Spurs. but I don't know how that would work out. I
I
don't know
don't either.
what they would give up or what they would trade for that. I like him at the Hawks. I do if they could put something together to uh have him and Bankero play together on the Magic. I would like that as well.
So hold on a second, bro.
All right, no problem.
Well, my bad. So what I'm looking at here, what y'all could, how would you feel about Darius Garland, Jared Allen, a 2028 pick swap, a 2028 first round pick, 2030 first round pick, and a 2031 pick swap for Giannis?
And you said Darius Garland. Our current players would be Darius Garland and Jared Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with the picks, I think that makes sense. I mean that makes sense as far as the trade goes. If he's willing to come to Cleveland, I think um that definitely makes sense. I believe that it would make our team more. I think it's such a debate about teams going to the because when you look back, when you think about how many teams have and well, Donovan Mitchell is considered a shooting guard, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
He's considered a two. Okay, with
Yeah.
Darius Garland at the one. It's just hard. I mean, you don't see a lot of championship teams. I can't recall any off the top of my head where a 6'1" shooting guard was the best player on the team. You know what I mean? And so I think that with that type of setup, I think you got Mobley, who I believe can shine at a full time center position.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you got DeAndre Hunter, who I believe will thrive at the four, 3-4, but even the four, maybe three. That four position is tough for us because right now we looking at Dean Wade and well we got Mobley there now, but if we were to move Jared Allen, we would go either Dean Wade or Hunter, have them interchange at 3-4. Um, and then at the two, um, I don't know who's our backup. Sam Merrill, Max Strusen. So you got Max Strus at the three actually, or the four. Um, and so yeah, it's interchangeable. Those are all good shooters, all good role players. I think you put Giannis at the four, Giannis at the four or the five. Um, I think it's a better matchup. I think Darius Garland is better than Lillard right now if he gets a full time. I'll be out in a second, Siobhan. Close the door. Yeah, so let me close this door 1 second.
Good, bro. You good?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
what? Not bad, Brody.
Are you good, my brother? No good, bro. I
Yeah.
agree.
So what was we talking about last? The
You said
trade for
like,
Giannis.
yeah, Giannis to be on the Cavs. Like, I
Yeah,
think
yeah, I like that. I like that. If that's a place where he wants this, you know, that he's willing to come. If you know, I know it's not the most fancy market out there, so it's always harder to get those bigger names.
hmm
But you know, we would. Cleveland fans will fall in love with that. I tell you that
right.
for sure.
I agree. So, like you said, you just feel like the Cavs just lack leadership.
Yeah, I think they just lacking leadership, man. I think that you have to be able to make a team better, and I think Giannis is stepping into that. When we see his rise as far as assists this year, I think I want to say off the top of my head, he was around like 7 assists this year, 6 or 7 assists this year, uh, multiple triple doubles this year. So
Yeah.
he's kind of moving to that space where he's demanding so much attention that he's able to really open up, you know, stuff for shooters. With the Bucks, you got to look at them losing Beasley,
Right.
you know, losing DiVincenzo. Right? They used to have DiVincenzo, didn't they?
hmm
Back way back when, even before the Knicks. So they continuously losing shooters, and now you got I don't even know who you know. Dame is not playing. He's just not playing the same way no more.
No, it's
You
not.
know, I kind of think he's at. I don't want to say he's at the end because there are point guards in the league that are still older than him.
Facts.
But they're just not set up. The Bucks aren't set up the way the Cavs are set up when you talk about supporting roles. Like we got legit shooters that when they're on, you know, Max Drew, Sam Merrill, these dudes can DeAndre Hunter, these dudes can really shoot the ball. You know, Darius Garland.
Exactly.
These dudes can shoot the ball. Evan Mobley started picking up hitting from the outside.
Yeah.
So on a team like that with Giannis and the floor spacing that he's going to be able to create, uh, I mean, I don't see how the Cavs could lose if that trade that you just said happened. I don't see how they could lose. How they wouldn't go all the way.
I would not miss out on that. I would try to make that happen for real. Like for real. Um, Celtics, what you think next for the Celtics, man?
Um, you know, we got to reverence the injury. We can't really talk much about what happens if he doesn't get injured because the fact of the matter was that he did get injured.
hmm
Uh, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
um, we got that going on with the Celtics. Um,
You feel like
other than
GG's
his
ready for
injury, I
that
mean,
number one role, like the leadership role? You feel like he's ready for that?
Tatum,
No, Jalen Brown.
Jalen Brown.
They're gonna be out for half of next
Oh
year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's out. He's probably out for to playoffs next year.
Yeah.
Um, we'll see. We'll see. You know, there's been talks about him not being ready for that role, and I think the last game he got like 11 assists though. They was talking about he don't
Yeah,
get assists. You know,
he can spread the ball.
yeah, he was able to do that. I think that if we talk about him taking on a leadership role, he's gonna have to actually put some work to his game.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Which is so rare for us to say that about a superstar level player, or at least he's getting paid like a superstar level player. You
exactly.
know what I mean? So
I agree.
it's hard for us to, you know, we really don't talk much about them expounding, expanding on their game. But somebody like Jalen Brown, like he's going to actually have to. I think the rest of the team will have to pick it up. You know, I want to put it on one person, but you've been getting paid like that guy. So I think that he'll have to add to his repertoire, but it's still on the rest of the team. I think um, you got people like um, what's his name? What's the
He won 6 men of the year. Still got him.
uh, the little guy?
Drew Holiday. You still got Drew Holiday.
Not
Still
Drew
got
Holiday. What's the Pritchard?
yeah, Pritchard, the
Um,
one who just won 6 men. Yep, right.
oh yeah, yeah. So you got Pritchard there. You know, players like him, sometimes you kind of want them to keep coming off the bench.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you got to, you know, they got a strong core of people to where, and then you had a Porzingis that wasn't even really healthy this whole year.
Right.
I think they'll be fine. I think everybody role will have to go to the next level.
Facts. Facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe gonna be all right. They're gonna be all right.
You know, I think Porzingis has to be a better rebounder for taking away 10, 11 rebounds per game with Tatum. You
Yeah.
know, I think Drew Holiday, Jalen Brown has to be a better 3-point shooter. Uh, you know what I mean? So that your 3-point shot can be respected a little bit more. The spread that and get the spacing a little bit better. Especially with Porzingis because Al Horford is he's on the way out.
Yeah,
He's on the way out.
they most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, so I think if everybody step up in their roles, it could just make them an even better team when he come back. And I think they still have enough championship wise. I don't think losing Jason Tatum is the equivalent of Golden State losing Steph. I think that's two different levels.
Yeah, that's true. And they got the most expensive roster I've ever seen, so they better make something work.
Yeah,
They better
definitely.
make something work. Let's speak of Steph. So what's next for the Golden State Warriors?
Um, Certainly, if you're a fan, you don't want to whisper rebuild, but you
Maybe
don't want
it's
to.
time to say rebuild
Yeah, yeah,
for the
yeah.
Golden
But
State
it's, I
Warriors.
mean, it from a outsider perspective, I think a rebuild is.
Yeah,
I think they're kind of already doing it with the Jimmy situation.
yeah, I think
Um,
so.
who isn't a spring chicken, but it's he's young enough to say, give us 5 good years of what can you do.
Yeah,
4 or 5 good years of what can you do. I definitely think Steph is. Uh, Steph isn't really a dude who we talk about much with injuries. He's had some injuries for sure, but it just seems like we're starting to talk about him a little bit more when we look at the last 3 or 4 years.
yeah,
I think Draymond has obviously plateaued. He's obviously given us the best he can give us. I don't think Draymond's getting better. You know what I
still
mean?
a better.
So
He's still a good defender. That's all.
yeah, for sure, for sure. He certainly still has value, but he's getting kind of to that place where it's like, you know, I think for them, start rotating the younger guys in a little bit more this year.
Yeah,
As far as Potominski, probably a good trade piece. Um, I don't see them going long term with Potominski, but when you think about Kaminga, they've been pretty loyal to Looney. I think Looney has value, even if he comes off the bench. I think he's worth paying for that. I don't think
thanks.
Looney starts anywhere. Um, yeah, I don't think Looney starts. I don't think Looney starts anywhere.
Mm-mm. No,
I don't
his
think.
starting days is done. His starting
Yeah,
days
I don't
is
think
done.
Looney starts anywhere. But he's good coming off the bench. Um, they're going to have to get a complete rebuild. As
Yeah.
far as Golden State, it's just going to have to be complete rebuild. Um, I think you can rebuild around. I don't know. How old is Kaminga? Like 25?
About 26, 25. Yeah, he not.
Yeah. So I think Kaminga is a piece to build. I'm not going to necessarily say around, but build on. Um,
But can
I
we
think that's a
honestly
good piece.
say that Kuminga has been unfair because of the system that when they drafted him, they had a certain system, and then all of a sudden the next year he's a second year player. Then he had another system they
Yeah,
wanted him to do. It's
yeah,
like damn, like what? Why y'all gonna keep changing on him? He's supposed to be that next guy up, and
yeah.
then
And I think that's why it was so easy for them to trade Wiggins.
yeah,
I think because of that reason, and because Wiggins was kind of having that same type of issue to where 6, 7 wings have in that type of system.
that's
Um, and Wiggins started to shoot the ball better.
right.
Even so much so that it was hard. Like what I didn't like for Wiggins is that when you're in that type of system that Golden State has been running, like you said, it's even changed from like the 15, 16, 17 system. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's
Because
been
they
changing. It's been
they kind of
changing
kept their
years.
system
That's
the
why I
same
felt like
with
he
KD.
never got a fair.
Yeah, yeah. So I think with him, when you look at people like Wiggins, even going to the Heat, they knew he was talented, but
Right.
they didn't have enough time to acclimate him to that system. And I think the same thing with Kaminga. It's like if he were to leave now, he wouldn't get the value he deserves because
No, he
he's
wouldn't.
been caught up in it. Like his trade value right now is
Nope.
horrible.
It's
You
nothing
know
right
what
now.
I'm saying? It's horrible,
It's
and
nothing
it
right now.
should be much higher than that. And so when it comes to him, I just think Golden State owes him, as much as you can say that. I think they owe him at least um, a couple more years to say, hey, this is kind of how we want to start fitting you into this system. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And
because
I don't know if that's per se. I don't. He's gonna have to switch to like a kind of a stretch four.
right.
He's gonna have to go like stretch four because that's the only way he'll fit as long as Steph and Draymond and Jimmy is there. You know what I'm saying? And even Jimmy is like he's not typical as far as their system goes. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? And so even adding him in, it's like I don't even know how what the conversation was, which is probably why Steve Kerr's coaching looks so bad. You know what I mean?
it's very
You're
looks
in a
very
second
good.
round playoff game. You're in a second round playoff game, and you play 15 guys in the first quarter. Like, come on, man. What are you doing? Like, why are you trying stuff in the playoffs? So losing Steph definitely exposed some things
Yeah,
from the coaching standpoint for sure.
yeah.
You know,
It's like they need a big man and a bench.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it reminded me of
yeah,
the Lakers a little bit. I was like, man, you only dependent on Steph and Jimmy, and then Steph go down.
yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah, and see the thing about no one is used to playing with a Jimmy dominant system.
right.
You know what I'm saying? They don't even know how that looks, which is why Steve Kerr did what he did. You
Yeah,
know, they don't play. It's like it's so crazy because it's like even the half court basketball they play, it's still transition.
hmm
Like that's how it's always been for Golden State. Even when they're in the half court, it's still an offense that gets a shot up 3 seconds after they pass the half court line, or 4 or 5 seconds after they pass, because that's just how their system has always been. When you got Jimmy, who is more of that half court guy, um, it's just hard. It's hard to position people without Steph. And Steph being 36 years old, 36, 37 years old, um, you got to start thinking about what's next.
I agree.
And obviously Brandon Podominski and Gary Payton the second aren't the answers to that.
No, it's not, bro.
They couldn't walk a foot in Steph's shoes, so they're definitely not the answer to that.
Oh man, so Denver, Jokic has voiced his opinion that we need a better bench. I think is that the obvious answer?
No, y'all need more consistent starters. I mean, if you want to look at, I mean, first of all, you need to just get rid of Michael Porter. I mean, I don't know. When you talk about someone who literally played nothing like they played last year,
Yeah.
like nothing like they played last year. Like if you were to see a mixtape from Michael Porter Jr. last year and this year, you would be like, that's not the same guy. I mean, this dude was just non-existent. I mean, you're going 50, 60% of your games with not even, you can't even make double digits,
Right.
in points. You have a couple good rebounding games, but we don't even need you to do that for real. Like there's enough people that rebound. Christian Brown was probably averaging 7 or 8. I like Christian Brown, good young dude. He's a starter though. When you say you need a better bench, I don't know what your okay. Who's their backup center? Was it still DeAndre Jordan?
Yep.
Who they kind of never played? Okay, which you're not going to play in the playoffs because the mismatches it creates on the defensive end and not being able to have someone who can stretch the floor hurts too much. You got Russ, who you know essentially got almost not starting minutes, but he got good. Russ was getting pretty good minutes, more minutes than I actually thought he was going to get.
Right.
You got I forgot the one young dude name. I just have to hear the young black dude. He was playing pretty good, but I got to put more on the stack. See, the difference between Golden State and Denver is Denver wasn't really bench heavy. Like they weren't playing there. Wasn't a huge rotation in the playoffs. Like a 7, 8 man rotation, barely.
Exactly, bro.
You know what I mean? So to say you need a better bench, I don't. If are you saying because that's the reason your bench wasn't really in, or I don't,
Like
I
you
don't
said,
know.
you can sit it on
I
the
think
bench
they
and
need new
be good.
starters. Like
I don't like that. You kind of like
I
shit
think
on your bench a little bit, man.
yeah. I think that you need to point if you're pointing fingers, it's going to be at Porter Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamal Murray was not consistent this year.
No, he
I mean,
wasn't.
you'd have a 40-point game and then you'd have a 9-point game. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Which is kind of like Donovan Mitchell, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Exactly, man. And then you got to remember, take
So
into consideration. Gordon was hurt too.
yeah. And I was like, he was playing a huge role in the playoffs.
Exactly.
A huge role in the playoffs. I mean, I feel like like he was playing a huge role. I'll put it like that. He was playing a huge role in the
And
playoffs.
your coach wasn't there, so
Yeah, yeah. So I just think I don't like that he did that because I don't think the bench played enough for you to blame it on the bench.
no, I don't think so either. And that you just voiced it like that, I was like, come on, man, let's be real.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to it. Predictions on Western Conference Finals. What you think?
Um, it's tough. It's tough.
This one gonna be
You
tough.
know, we look at the road there, and I can argue that OKC's role was tougher.
Hmm.
There's an argument to be made for that. Um,
I agree.
Lakers did end the season playing well, so I give Minnesota credit for that. Um, that was a gentleman's sweep, right? Is that four
Well,
one?
they got one.
Yeah, 4-1. Yeah, gentleman's sweep. Yeah, that was 4-1.
Yeah.
So I got to give them credit for that. Yeah, I just think that beating the Nuggets meant more than anything that Minnesota did.
Yeah.
I still think the Nuggets were better than the Lakers. I still think the Nuggets was better than who did they play before? Who did they play first round?
Nuggets played Clippers first round.
No. Who did Minnesota play first round?
Lakers.
Like they played them first round.
Hmm.
Okay, then Nuggets played Minnesota. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Um, and then OKC just beat OKC played who in the second round?
Who they play? Second round was Denver.
Okay, yeah.
First
Shit.
round.
Yeah, because OKC took Denver out, right?
Yeah, OKC took Denver out. Yep.
Okay. And Minnesota took what two teams out? They took the Lakers out and who else?
Golden State.
Go to state. Go to state. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Denver is better than the Lakers and Golden State. I think they're better constructed. They have the MVP, um, reigning MVP. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that means more than anybody. And when we talk about system, I mean it's just cut and dry. It's cut and dry. They have the best scorer in the NBA. A guard who's getting to the free throw line for 18 attempts a night.
Hmm.
You can't beat it. They're just constructed so well. 2 7-footers.
Right.
Um, it's going to be a tough team to beat if Minnesota doesn't shoot the three ball well. Um, and we know when they're shooting it well, they shoot it well. But how does that look, right? Does it mean that Ant has to hit 7 and DiVincenzo has to hit 4 and uh,
Right.
um,
Play some good aggressive defense.
who has to be on? I think that it comes down to how good Minnesota will shoot from the three in this series. I think it's going to come down to the three ball. I think that you definitely are not going to be dependent on Rudy Gobert to score much. He probably averages 5 points for the series, if that. That's generous,
Right.
right? That's generous. He might sneak a 12 point game in. I think Rudy Gobert is going to have his hands full as
Right.
well. Down there with Hardenstein, and shit. Um, I think Julius Randle is going to have to shoot the ball well. Um, I do think if we're talking toughness, I'll give Minnesota a slight edge.
Facts.
Physical toughness. You know what I mean? But when we talk about system and playing the game right, OKC is 2015 Golden State in my eyes. A bunch of guys to where we got a certified star, and everybody else is like they're not exactly because I think Shea's the only all-star on that team,
Yeah, pretty much.
right? Yeah, I think he's the only person that made it to the All-Star game. I don't know if I don't think Jalen Williams was an All-Star this year.
No.
So yeah, I mean, you got only got one All-Star on that team. Same with Minnesota
Yeah.
as well. That's one All-Star, but I think you have All-Star caliber player. I think Julius Randle has been an All-Star once, hasn't he? At least
Mhm.
once.
Yeah, he been one. Yep.
Yeah. So you got a caliber All-Star player. You have a great shooter who can go off in DiVincenzo. You have the veteran Mike Conley. Um, it should be a good series. I'm gonna say I'm gonna. I'll play devil's advocate and I'll take Minnesota at 7.
I'm gonna agree with you on that one. I think it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be 7. I feel like
Yeah.
it could be OKC first 2 games, Minnesota second 2 games, then they split another one,
Mm-hmm.
take it back home. Beat OKC in
Yeah.
7 at
Mm-hmm.
OKC.
Yeah. Either one in 7. Obviously, if I'm saying 7, it could be anybody. I play devil's advocate and go with Minnesota in 7 because I just think that um, there's just a difference. Shea is the best scorer, but there's a difference between Shea and Ant-Man. And Ant-Man is he's different. You know what I mean? Shea's obviously, Shea gets buckets,
Yes, he
period.
does.
But Ant is just different, man. And when
Yes,
and when you have somebody like Ant, he can actually change the entire morale of
fact.
a team with the stuff he can do. You know what I'm saying? Like he can build, but like the stuff he's able to do on the court can literally take a team who's down 10 and be like, hey, 15, hey, we in this. Hey,
Exactly.
we back in this. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to um and I think that's an argument in itself, who has the most valuable player in that
Mhm.
series. You know what I'm saying? Like which player brings more value to their team? Um And that's it. That's one that's up for debate. But either one, I think it goes 7. I think either one of them is 7.
7. I agree with you. I think go 7. If you can really find a way to clamp Ant down, it could be a different story for OKC. If you can find a way to like shut him down, get him out his game,
Yeah,
OKC
yeah.
could take it in 6.
And I believe Ant has shown himself to be a facilitator,
Yeah.
to be able to facilitate the ball as well. I think the amount of coherent guards you have on that team, even Shinzo, I think averaging 3 or 4 assists. You got Mike Conley starting averaging. I just think with the they got enough good guard play. Um, I'll say this. I would say that they probably should lean on Rudy Gobert to do more in this series. I
Exactly.
think he could be an edge factor that really needs to actually step up, in this series, honestly. Obviously on the boards, you know what I'm saying? You got Hartenstein and Chet down there. I think they both for the last 2 games, they both got double doubles, or Hartenstein was close. So it's like it's gonna be a bang out down there more than people think. And that's why I said it's gonna really be decided on how well which I think that's how Minnesota has played all year for real. They've lived and died by that 3 ball. You know what I'm saying? They live and die by that 3 ball, and everybody shoots them outside of Gobert. Everybody on that team shoots threes. There's nobody who doesn't shoot threes, from Jaden McDaniels to DiVincenzo to Mike Conley to they're shooting that 3 ball. So if the 3 ball is working, um, but if it's not, you just got Shea, man, who could just do it from anywhere, man. He could do it from anywhere, and he's a handful, and he'll give you, and if you want to press him, he'll give up 10 assists too. So
No
that's gonna be a
problem.
fun one. That's gonna be a fun one.
Man. All right, before we wrap it up, Knicks and Pacers, what you thinking?
Knicks and Pacers. Um, Let's see. I have to just give Pacers the credit for the momentum that they're building, man.
Yeah.
Um, I just everything says Knicks. I think everything says Knicks. I think Knicks is the most logical answer for anyone who follows sports.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It makes the most sense to say the Knicks. But who's to say that it made the most sense to say Pacers over Cavs? You know, because not
Right.
everybody would say that. You know, so when I look at the Knicks, Jalen Brunson is definitely going to be the best player in this series.
Yeah.
Um, he's going to be the best player in this series. I don't think that's arguable. Um, it's a great matchup. It's a great matchup. The where I see the Pacers getting an edge is just off their ability to floor space with the size that they have. But Knicks have good size when you have somebody like Anunoby. Anunoby is going to have his hands full trying to guard Siakam. That's going to be a tough task. You know, Miles Turner is not going to let Karl Anthony Towns do what he wants to do on the inside.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So looking at it like that, I think that it really will come down, if I be honest, to Halliburton versus Brunson. I
Yeah.
think that's what it's going to come down to. I mean, I think people like Josh Hart are definitely going to come in. They're going to have a good game. They're going to have some good games inside of that series. But Bridges is gonna have a few good games. But I think everybody outside of Brunson and Halliburton kind of offsets each other.
Yes.
You know, I think Bridges is definitely a slightly better scorer than Nimhard. Who's a better scorer? I would say he's a better scorer than Nimhard. You know what I mean? But Nimhard brings a lot to the table. Nimhard can play a game with 7, 8 assists. I like the bench more of Indiana.
Yeah.
You know, with Will McConnell coming off the bench. McConnell is a problem coming off the bench. Obi Toppin is a problem coming off the bench. And I just don't see them. I don't see the bench of New York matching up with the Pacers that well. I see the Pacers bench outplaying the Knicks bench. And I think that's going to give the Pacers an edge. Um, who got home court advantage in that?
Oh, it's the Knicks at home first too.
Knicks at home first. Okay. I do think the Pacers will steal one. I don't know if it's one or two, game one or
It's
game two.
one.
They'll steal one there. Um, I believe the Knicks will steal one.
Me too.
I believe the Knicks will
Well,
steal one
too.
as
Hey,
well.
I agree with you. I agree.
So looking at these series, I think these are going to be really good series. The West and the East. I'm going to say, I'm going to say this is going to be a dogfight. I think both of these teams really, really, really want it. Um, is Halliburton going to keep that chip on his shoulder and keep riding this underrated wave and keep showing the world that he's not underrated? You know, that he's not overrated, that he's underrated. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that if Halliburton, I think Halliburton needs to score.
Yeah.
I think Halliburton needs to score in this game. I think that they don't win this game if Halliburton isn't averaging 20. They don't win this series without Halliburton averaging 20 or better. It's just no way because we know what Jalen Brunson gonna do. We know what he coming to do. You
Exactly.
know what I mean? We know
Exactly.
what he coming to do. You know, it's what he been doing all year long.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the supporting cast. They cancel each other out. I think the matchups are good. I think the Towns and Turner matchup is good. I think the Anunoby Siakam matchup is good. I think the Harden um, Naismith matchup is really good.
Mhm.
And I think the Nimhard and Mikal Bridges matchup is really good. You know, I think all of those matchups are really good, but it's going to come down to Halliburton. Can you give us 22, 23 a game? Because that's what they're going to need. That's what they're going to need. Uh, so I'll say 7. I'm gonna take 7. I'm gonna go 7. I think Pacers pull it out. I think Pacers pull it out.
Ugh. I'm gonna disagree. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's the home team.
Yeah.
Halliburton is inconsistent.
Yeah.
He's that, like you said
Scoring he
earlier
is for
about
sure.
somebody else. You said somebody else. He can drop 20 or 30, and then he can drop nine the next night.
Hmm.
In order to win this series, you're going to have to score over 20 points a game.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like Halliburton can give you 31 game and then won't you shit the bed the next game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the Pacers will probably lose on account of that. That he'll
Hmm.
be great one game, but inconsistent probably the next couple of games.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
be
mean, I
bold
can
here.
see
I'm
it.
gonna say the Knicks because I feel like the Knicks will probably play better defense. I agree with you. They both will still won at home.
Yeah.
But game six, I think Knicks will definitely
I will agree that the Knicks for sure have the defensive edge.
yeah.
They for sure will have the defensive edge. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But we know the Pacers can put up some points.
Yes, they
And
can.
if that 80, did they set the record against the Cavs? They set the record.
Yeah.
87 at halftime. Yeah, so we
They
know.
know they can pour some points.
Yeah, we know that they can close the door
Yes, they
real
can.
fast if it goes that way.
And they
You know what I
also
mean? And
can
then
do
we also see their resilience in the Cavs series as well. Coming back down 20 twice.
it.
They
Exactly.
were down 20 in two
Exactly.
games and came back with Cavs at home in both games. You
And
know what
both
I
of
mean?
these teams is crazy. Like they both showing you that, hey, y'all can have a good lead, but
Yeah,
you
yep,
both
yep, yep. Both
can
teams,
fight
both teams
anyway.
down 20 to the Celtics. Yep. So yeah, they're both resilient. I can't argue someone giving the Knicks the edge on paper or even with the eye test. I can't argue that.
Right.
Um, I'm just going to I'm gonna hold maybe I'm gonna hold the Pacers beating the Cavs in maybe a higher esteem than some people. So I think after it happens, people don't want to esteem it as high. Oh, they got a few excuses for the Cavs, but no, man, the Cavs were playing really good, and they found a way to neutralize the Cavs to the point of almost making it look like the Cavs weren't in their league. Uh,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? So
Yes.
with that being said, I'm gonna give that edge to the Pacers just because I'm gonna give them a little bit more credit. I think the Cavs were better um, than I think the Cavs were better than everyone but the Celtics.
Yeah.
That's kind of was my mindset going in. Uh, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a good one. That's gonna be a good one. You can talk about that
Definitely.
all day. That's
It
gonna be
is.
a good one. Yeah.
So four potential finals. Pacers versus Timberwolves, Thunder versus Pacers,
Yeah.
Thunder versus Knicks, and Thunder versus Timberwolves. Which one makes sense to you? Which one would you want to see?
Um, what makes sense to me is OKC and the Knicks. That's what makes sense. That's what if we're talking on paper analytics, what makes sense? Shea's ability to get to the free throw line at will.
Yeah.
In a clutch moments, and there are going to be a lot of clutch moments. There are going to be a lot of game time decisions. There are going to be a lot of it comes down to who can get you a bucket, who can get to the line. Um, the versatility Shea has, you got to look at that and say when it comes down to it. But I just think that it depends on what it comes down to. I think that if it comes to a game seven situation, I think you have to edge. You have to edge OKC. You have to edge OKC. You have to give that to them, especially being that they're going to be at home. Um, the Knicks, um, both teams in the East. Um, Well, we got the Pacers who were in the Western Conference Finals last year.
Right.
Lost to a really, really good Celtics team, a team that's arguably played better last year than they did this year. So was better last year than they did they were this year.
Yeah.
Had a lot of close games with them, and I think they learned so much from that. I think they learned a lot from that. I just don't. I can't put my finger on who's really gonna fight harder. Um,
True.
I just think that the Pacers have a little bit more of that small city, small town edge to them, as opposed to New York, to where the expectations for a team that has gotten this far has to be the go all the way. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And I don't know whether they don't have enough experience for me to know whether they're going to crumble under this pressure or rise to the occasion. I think the Knicks have more to lose by losing. More questions will be asked of the Knicks for losing than they will be for the Pacers for losing. If the Pacers go 7 and lose, some people are still going to praise the Pacers.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That was a great job. You had a great season. Even their fans
exactly.
will be like, that was a great season. You know what I mean? But the Knicks, for them to get this far, um, there's just an expectancy, whether Jason Tatum gets injured or not, there's an expectancy after beating the world champs to go all the way. So
Exactly.
the Knicks on paper are supposed to get there. The Knicks on paper are supposed to get there. So what makes the most sense is OKC, um, and Knicks. But for me, I'm just going to play devil's advocate, man, and I'm going to go. I'm gonna have to go exact complete opposite, man. I'm gonna have to go Minnesota Pacers. It just I'm gonna just play all the way devil's advocate on that, man.
Really.
Yeah.
Woo.
That's what I see happening, man. Because both of those teams have already surpassed my expectations.
Right.
I did not expect Minnesota to get past the Lakers in that fashion. I did not. I just didn't. You know what I'm saying? I didn't because the Lakers ended that season playing really good basketball.
True.
You know what I mean? Looking like they had worked some stuff out. They had got some stuff together. Now we know they did not have a big man to save their life. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying? Their big man was probably ranked wherever last is among all centers. You
Exactly.
know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like literally.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? They could have had Clint Capella and made a better run at it. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
that's no shade to Clint Capella. You know what I mean? But speaking of him, I don't know where he's going because his spot just definitely got taken by Okongwu. Okongwu started to show up in a big way. So maybe he will go to the Lakers. Maybe Clint Capella will go to the Lakers.
Yeah,
And they'll pay him whatever they think they can pay him. But yeah, so I just think that both of these teams have already come further than everyone thought they would. Like I don't know, I don't people that aren't from Cleveland or Ohio did not have the Pacers beating the Cavs. Like nobody had the Pacers beating the Cavs. Charles Barkley said the Cavs were winning the championship. And I
mm,
remember when he said it.
I remember
So
that too.
so so
Yeah, I
so
remember.
so 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 the Pacers have already went further. Um,
Didn't
I
expect
think
it.
the fashion in which the Timberwolves have made it to where they've made it has also been a thing because they've been beating people in a way that's like, Did they sweep the Suns?
Last year they did. Not
Last year they swept the Suns.
yeah, last
Okay,
year they did.
because who they play first round this year,
Lakers. They played the Lakers first round.
and then the second round was
Golden State.
Golden State. Okay, yeah. So they swept the Suns last year. Um, I thought the Lakers, and they beat the
Yeah, you
and
pretty
Golden State
much
only got one. Golden State only got one game too, right?
built one. Yep.
Yeah, only got one game. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's just the fashion that they've been beating people in is they're letting people get one game.
Mm,
And the Pacers, you know, they pretty much doing the same thing. I think Celtics won two.
mm.
Yeah, Celtics won two and Cavs won one. So they've already exceeded expectations, man. Why not keep going?
I
That's
feel
how
you,
I'm
man.
looking at it.
Yeah, I feel you. But I'm gonna pick Knicks and Timberwolves because we rarely see two teams swap out all stars and then they face each other later in the NBA Finals. That would be a good
Yeah.
storyline.
Oh yeah, that's huge. I was thinking about that storyline as well. I said, man, those dudes made that trade, and nobody can say that they won that trade yet. And I was like, man,
Hmm.
it's crazy how if they come
Exactly.
together, we'll
Right.
get the answer to who won that trade. Um, and you can and right now I couldn't even tell you who won that trade. I mean,
Exactly.
they both look like great trades.
Exactly.
To trade Carl Anthony Towns was crazy, but I mean to get DiVincenzo and Julius Randle,
Yeah.
um, that's You can't argue that. You can't argue how they're.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You can't argue that, especially the things DiVincenzo was doing on the Knicks. I mean, DiVincenzo had the game where he scored 11 threes or 10 threes. They was letting him shoot 12 threes a game on the Knicks. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? And obviously that role isn't the same on this squad, but I believe that he served a purpose. He's bringing some value to the team, and obviously, Julius Randle is definitely I can't even tell you. Like, I don't know. Like, if you was to ask me who's brought more value, Cat to the Knicks or Julius Randle and DiVincenzo to the Timberwolves, I couldn't even tell you. I don't. I
Exactly.
think it's so even. What they brought. It's just. But I would edge Minnesota because it's two players, and I would edge Minnesota because of how good Julius Randle has been playing.
Hmm.
Back to back 11-6 game. I'm like, who is this dude? You know,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? So I'm like, if Julius Randle is going to be a 10 assist per game guy, I got to give them the edge of who won that trade, because if Julius Randle is getting 10 assists, that's a hard team to beat.
Exactly.
That's a hard team to beat.
And they split 1-1 this year too. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, I think
it'll
the
be
Knicks are
good.
tougher than the Pacers. I think the Knicks are tougher than the Pacers. I think that the Cavs never really had real toughness. That they've never been defined by toughness.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And I think that the Pacers have understood that. You got the banter back and forth with Milwaukee. They was going at it with Milwaukee. Talking
Right.
talking big trash to Milwaukee, talking big trash to Dame. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, they talking crazy to certify people now. So how are they gonna,
It's
how are
gonna
they
be
gonna present themselves, against a team who's kind of defined, by their toughness? And if they can be a tough team and buckle down, and I believe if they can play the way they played in the Cavs series, if they can continue that with that type of resilience, it's going to be a tough series for the Knicks. But I give the Knicks credit as well, though, because they have, they're constructed very, very uniquely.
yeah.
They're constructed very uniquely when you think about them. They don't really have a backup center. Well, they got Mitchell Robinson. I don't know. Mitchell Robinson isn't a center, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't really have a backup center per se. But hey, neither does Minnesota.
Right.
That's what makes it. You know
But
what I'm
Mitchell
saying?
Mitchell can show up
Yeah,
when he's called
yeah,
upon, which is
yeah.
great.
Yep. So yeah, man. Either way, I would definitely. I would. I'm gonna go Pacers. I'm gonna go Pacers. Pacers. Timberwolves. But Timberwolves and Knicks is definitely the storyline.
Great storyline.
That I would like to see how that pan out. It's gonna be interesting
Yes, it
for
is.
sure. Either way.
I can't wait, man. I cannot wait, bro.
Yes, sir.
Anything else you want to add before we get up out of here?
Nope, man. I'm about to get ready, man, to slide to work, and I'm about to get ready to put this game on, turn on the play-by-play on this game, and
Facts.
see how it's going, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you for pulling up, man. Please like, comment, subscribe. Go follow my man Said. He gonna be back on the show. It was good having him, man. Said I appreciate you. I love you, my brother.
All right, so late, bro. Peace.
All right, peace out, y'all.